Hello and welcome to today's video. I hope you all are healthy. In today's video, I am going to demonstrate the step-by-step process to encrypt an unencrypted EBS volume. This is a very important topic for any AWS certification. You also need to know the end-to-end process as part of your day-to-day work, or if you are working as an AWS developer, solution architect, or even as a system administrator. If you follow today's session without skipping any part, you should be able to complete this task confidently and answer any AWS certification question related to this topic. Before I start, I would like to request you, if you are new to our channel or haven't subscribed yet, then please subscribe to our channel and please click on the bell icon to get notification for any new topic. Now let's get started and let's see the use case first. You might have a requirement to encrypt data at rest when you are storing the data in AWS Cloud. As you know, EC2 is AWS Virtual Compute Capability and EBS is the network volume. Now to process any data in EC2 instance, you might have to store the data in the EBS volume and you might have to encrypt the EBS volume to store the data. Or you might have a compliance requirement, or maybe a regulatory requirement you have, or maybe you have a requirement like PCI DSS or payment card industry requirement, where you have to encrypt all the data in transit and in rest. So this could be the use case where you need or you have to encrypt your EBS volumes. Next, we will see how can you create an encrypted EBS volume. First step, while creating a EBS volume, you can encrypt at the time of creation. Now you must be thinking, if I already have an EBS volume and which is not encrypted, how can I encrypt an existing EBS volume? One thing I would like to mention, there is no concept of enable encryption in a EBS volume. If you already have an unencrypted EBS volume, you cannot enable encryption to that EBS volume. You have to know this concept by heart, and there will be some questions in AWS certification which will try to test this concept. Please remember, you cannot enable encryption to an already existing unencrypted EBS volume. Then what will be the steps to achieve this goal? First, you can take a snapshot of the existing unencrypted EBS volume. Then you can copy that snapshot as an encrypted snapshot. And then you can restore an EBS volume from that encrypted snapshot and it will be an encrypted EBS volume. There is another one short way. You can restore that unencrypted snapshot as an encrypted EBS volume. In today's demo, we will see both the process. Now let's quickly move to AWS Management Console and let's see all the processes in action. We'll start with how to create an encrypted EBS volume. Then we'll take an unencrypted EBS volume and we'll try to create an encrypted EBS volume from the unencrypted EBS. I am in my AWS Management Console. If you follow my previous video where I talked about how to create automated backup for EC2 and EBS volumes, I have used 3 EC2 instances and I'm going to follow the same EC2 instances for today's video also. Out of the 3, I have terminated one and as a result I have currently 2 EC2 instances in my EC2 dashboard. Now let's review the EBS volume attached with the EC2 instance. The EC2 instance named as SQL Server EC2 has 2 EBS volumes. Now if you see, the encrypted is no. That means both the volumes are not encrypted. One point I would like to show you, if you see the device name starts with /dev/SDA. This is the primary EBS volume. That means when I created that EC2 instance, this is the boot volume. I have another one EBS volume and the device name is XVDF. This is the secondary EBS volume. You can detach this secondary EBS volume from the EC2 instance and you can attach with another one EC2 instance. But you won't be able to detach the boot volume from any EC2 instance. If I'll go to the second EC2 instance, and let's review the storage. I have one boot volume, and again that is also not encrypted. Now let's go to EBS volumes. Under Elastic Block Store, if I go to volumes, I can see all the three EBS volume listed in this dashboard. If I go to right hand side, you can see there is a column called encryption, and if the volume is not encrypted, it will be mentioned as not encrypted. So this is another one option to understand if a volume is encrypted or not. If you select any particular EBS volume, if you come to details, there also you can see encryption is non-encrypted. That means this volume is non-encrypted EBS volume. Now let's go to snapshot and let's review. I have two snapshots created. Both the snapshots are not encrypted. If I select any snapshot and go to details, I should see encryption as not encrypted. So these are the ways you can validate whether EBS volume is encrypted or not. Let's create an encrypted EBS volume. If I'll go back to the EBS volume dashboard, let me close this pop-up and click on the create volume button. There are options what volume type you want to select. If you have a requirement for GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, what are the difference between these volume types is not scope of this video. I can create a separate video to talk about the different EBS volume options. But for this example, let's go with GP2 SSD volume. Volume size, let's give 30 GB. You can give whatever the volume you want. Availability zone, US East 1A. You can select any availability zone you want. Let me select US East 1D. Or let me go back to volume again and let's me verify where are my all the EBS volumes. So these EBS volumes are in US East 1D. So let me create the EBS volume in the same availability zone. I'll repeat the step. Create volume. I'll select the size as 30 GB. I'll modify the availability zone as US East 1D. Here is the EBS encryption configuration. If you select this checkbox, your EBS volume will be encrypted. To encrypt an EBS volume, you have to specify a KMS key. Now KMS will create a default key for you. You can either select the default key or you can go to KMS and create a custom key based on your requirement. For this lab, I am going to select the default KMS key. Then I am going to click create volume. It might take couple of seconds to create the EBS volume. Now the EBS volume has been created and it is available. Let me pull this down such that you will be able to see properly. Now if you compare the EBS volume, the previously created EBS volume versus the new EBS volume, the newly created EBS volume is saying encrypted, whereas the previous volumes are non-encrypted. Let me try to attach this EBS volume with any one of the EC2 instance. I'll go to action, I'll attach volume. From the instance drop down, I'll select the EC2 instance and I'll attach the volume. Now let's go back to EC2 dashboard and let's review the EBS volume attached with the EC2 instance. If I will select the EC2 instance named SQL Server EC2 and I'll go to the storage, there I'll be able to see all the three EBS volumes attached here. One point I'd like to call out, the first two EBS volumes are not encrypted, whereas the new EBS volume is encrypted. So you can attach both encrypted and unencrypted EBS volume simultaneously with one EC2 instance. This is another one important concept for any AWS certification, specifically if you are taking Solution Architect Associate certification. Since the newly created EBS volume is encrypted, that is why we can see the KMS key mapping, and we have selected the default KMS key for this operation. But the previous two EBS volumes that are not encrypted, that is why there is no KMS key. With this, we have covered the first part of the lab, how to create an encrypted EBS volume. Now let's concentrate on the second part where we will take an unencrypted EBS volume and we will try to create an encrypted EBS volume from the unencrypted. For this example, let's consider this EBS volume ending with F93D. If I'll click on the EBS volume ID hyperlink, I will go to the EBS volume dashboard. I will select the unencrypted EBS volume and I'll create a snapshot. Since this is an unencrypted EBS volume, snapshot will also be unencrypted. Now let's give a description. I'll use the name demo EBS encryption. You can use whatever the name you want. The encryption status is saying not encrypted because the EBS volume was not encrypted. You cannot create an encrypted snapshot from an unencrypted EBS volume. To create an encrypted snapshot, you have to create an unencrypted snapshot. Then you can copy that unencrypted snapshot to an encrypted EBS snapshot. Now let's create the snapshot. I'll go to the EBS snapshot dashboard under Elastic Block Store, snapshot. Our EBS snapshot has been created. This is the description that we have given at the time of the creation. If you see the details, it is not encrypted. Now let's review the process how to create an encrypted snapshot from this unencrypted EBS snapshot. I'll select the snapshot, I'll go to action, and from here I'll copy the snapshot. While copying the snapshot, I can copy to a different region, and when I'll copy to a different region, I have to specify a key from that region. You cannot use the same key whatever you are using in USTist1. Now I do not have a requirement to copy to a different region. I'll use the description as demo EBS encryption encrypted, and I'll enable encryption. When I'll enable encryption, I have to specify the KMS key. I can use the default KMS key or I can select a custom KMS key. I do not have a custom KMS key. That is why I'll go with default KMS key. Now I'll copy the snapshot. The copy process is going on. It might take a couple of seconds. Once the snapshot copy process will be completed, then we'll compare both the snapshots. The copy process has been completed. Now if you compare the demo EBS encryption, that was the original snapshot. We have created demo EBS encryption encrypted snapshot from the original snapshot which was unencrypted. If I'll go to right hand side of the screen and if we see the encryption column, new snapshot is encrypted, whereas the previous snapshot it was unencrypted or not encrypted. This is the process to convert an unencrypted EBS snapshot to an encrypted EBS snapshot. If you will select this snapshot and we'll try to restore this snapshot as a EBS volume, then the EBS volume will be encrypted. I'll go to action. I'll create a volume from snapshot. I can give availability zone as 1D because I want to attach again with the same EC2 instance. I have the option to select the KMS key, but I'll go with the default option and I'll create the volume. If I'll go to EBS volume dashboard, I should see the new EBS volume. Here is the new EBS volume that we have created from the encrypted snapshot. Since we haven't attached with any EC2 instance, that is why it is in available status. And if we review the encryption status, it is saying encrypted. If you remember, the top EBS volume we have created as encrypted EBS volume and we have attached with the SQL Server EC2 instance, and I have created this EBS volume from an unencrypted EBS volume backup. You can see the size 100 GB, that was the original EBS volume, and this is the new encrypted EBS volume. Now I can attach this EBS volume with the previous EC2 instance. I'll go to action, attach. I'll select the EC2 instance. I'll attach the volume. I'll go back to EC2 dashboard and then I'll review the volumes. Now I have 4 EBS volumes, out of that 2 encrypted and 2 unencrypted. Now the top one, device name /dev/SDA1, that is the boot volume. I cannot detach this boot volume, but I'll be able to detach the other EBS volume or the second EBS volume named XVDF. After converting an unencrypted EBS volume to an encrypted one, you might want to delete the unencrypted volumes. You have to remember one point. While an EC2 instance is running, you can attach EBS volumes. But to detach EBS volume, you must stop that EC2 instance, then detach the EBS, and then start the EC2 instance. Since I have used a spot instance to save some price here, I won't be able to stop this EC2 instance. That is why I won't be able to detach this EBS volume. I can show you if I'll go to instance state and if I'll try to stop, it is saying you cannot stop the spot instance because I have used the AWS spot capacity. That is why I won't be able to stop this. Stopping a spot means I have to release the compute capacity. Now let's concentrate on the third part of this video where we are going to create an encrypted EBS snapshot without copying. That means we will take an unencrypted snapshot and from there we'll restore an encrypted EBS volume. Now let's go back to the snapshot again and let's select an unencrypted snapshot. I'll select the fourth one from the list, which is an unencrypted snapshot. I'll go to action. I'll select create volume from snapshot. In this process, we have eliminated the need to copy an unencrypted EBS snapshot to an encrypted EBS snapshot. We are directly converting an unencrypted snapshot to an encrypted one. This time I'll select availability zone as 1D. I'll enable the encryption or I'll tick the encrypt the volume and I'll specify the default KMS key and I'll create a volume. If I'll go back to EBS volume dashboard, now this EBS volume is getting created. Let's refresh. Yes, the new EBS volume is already created and it's available to be attached with any EC2 instance. This is in USDist 1D. I'll be able to attach this EBS volume with the EC2 instance. And now let's attach. I'll go to action, select attach volume, and I'll select the EC2 instance. This will attach this EBS volume with the EC2 instance. Let's go back to the EC2 dashboard and let's review all the EBS volumes. If I'll select the SQL Server EC2, if I'll go to storage, I should see the 5 EBS volumes. Here you go. Out of that, first 2, that was before this lab, and the last 3 I have created as part of the lab, and all the 3 encrypted EBS volume. Now before we conclude, I'd like to clean all the resources such that I should not get any charge from AWS, and if you are following with me, you should also do the same thing to avoid any charges. Let's select both the EC2 instances. Let's go to instance state and let's terminate. This will terminate both my EC2 instances and I'll stop paying for these EC2 instances. Now one point I'd like to show you, if I'll go to my volume dashboard, you should see there will be still some EBS volumes that is available because EC2 will only delete the boot volume. It will not delete the secondary volumes. That is why I'll select all the EBS volumes. I'll go to action and I'll delete. It will ask for the confirmation. I'll write delete and then delete. Now all my EBS volumes are deleted. If I'll go to EC2 dashboard, although this will take some time to get it refreshed. Now I do not have any running EC2 instances. I do not have any EBS volumes also. I'm good to go and I'm not going to get any bills from AWS. Now to summarize, in this lab, we saw how to create an encrypted EBS volume. Then we saw if you already have an unencrypted EBS volume, how to create an encrypted EBS snapshot, and how to create an encrypted EBS volume from that unencrypted EBS volume. And then we saw how can you convert an unencrypted EBS snapshot to an encrypted EBS volume without copying the snapshot. Now we came to a conclusion about today's topic. I hope I was able to clarify all your doubts. If you have any question regarding today's topic, please post your question as comment to this video. We will answer at earliest. Before we conclude today, I would like to request you please subscribe our channel and please click on the bell icon to get notification for new topics. If you want me to cover any topics, please provide your request as a comment on this video. If you appreciate our effort, please like this video. It will definitely motivate us. At the end, thank you. Please take care and stay safe.